Okay, so this is just me playing in my studio. I was getting ready to paint and goof off because I've been away from home for a while, off and on a couple of different trips, and just haven't been at home to paint and to upload anything to my channel. I was looking at my channel this morning and saw that it's been over a month since my last upload. So I decided today, since I'm home and kind of relaxing and playing catch up, I'm going to just play in my studio. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and record. And what you'll see here is a big experiment, but I think it's going to be fun. I'm playing with some stuff. I got a heap of little tools. I was digging around in an old toolbox that I found. I have these like fishing tackle boxes full of my supplies from when I first started painting many years ago. I kept my things in toolboxes, so I have about 5 different toolboxes or tackle boxes around in my studio here, at different ages of when I was painting when I first got started, and then after I'd been going for a while, I got another bigger one, and then I got another one that was just different, and you know how that goes. So anyway, I was digging around. I was actually looking for my palette knife because I wanted to experiment with something, and I couldn't find it, but I found all these other cool things. So I've got this little weirdo fork thing it's probably an antique. I found it at a flea market some years ago, and I used it. I was learning how to make grasses and stuff like that, so I used this as a scraping tool. Well, let me see if I can show you, as a scraping tool like that to scrape lines in my paint. And I have miscellaneous expired credit cards and bits of credit cards or debit cards or whatever, when they expire, and what are you going to do with them? So you cut them up and you use them for painting tools. This is just a little floral thing. I cut off the back end of or the bottom end of a plastic or a silk flower or something. Who knows what I was doing, but I pulled some of the plastic off and exposed the wire, so I got a neat scraping tool that's a little bit wider in plastic on this end and metal on this end for cool scraping stuff. And I thought, well, let me see what kind of mark I can scrape on with this popsicle stick or tongue depressor. I don't know what you call it. Craft sticks, I guess, is what it says on the package when you buy a whole package of new ones, in case you don't just eat the popsicle off there and lick it clean and then paint with that. But anyhow, I'm going to play a little bit. And this photo that I have up there is a picture I took when I was on a trip to Colorado with my family several years ago. And I am experimenting with different ways of getting something I like for all of the way the mountainside. This is actually from in the Royal Gorge, I think it's called. And we were standing on a little bridge or crossway over there somewhere, looking. We were down and rode the tram or trolley, whatever they called it, down into the bottom of the gorge, and here come these group of tourists or whoever rafting or tubing down the little water there in the bottom. And I thought it made a neat picture. It looked really cool in person, but this picture does not do it justice. I actually put it in my Corel photo enhancing, manipulating, whatever you call those programs, doctored it up a little bit there, and I enhanced it a little. So let me show you this one. I changed the lighting there. I changed the lighting on that because that shows up a little bit better. You can see how the shrubs and the grasses and the rocks and stuff kind of went up the side of the gorge there, and I thought it looked really neat. So again, my reference pics don't do it justice. There you can see the difference. I'm going to leave it sit on this one, and I'm going to play around and see what I can get to happen that makes something beautiful out of that. So right now I'm going to just make a little quick sketch. There's where the water comes in on that side, and then it kind of comes down right there, and then that wall goes back in, and we got another bit of wall there. That is where I want to reserve that kind of white because of the water's going to go here, so don't want to get any of my paint on that right now. And then up above, about like this high, we've got a little bit going over. There's something, let's see here, this goes, how does this go here? This kind of goes up and back, and we got another bit of the wall of the gorge over here, so that's going behind that. This goes back on the other side of that. There's a fence or something there. You know what, I think well, yeah, I'm gonna have to put something there, aren't I? put this down along like this and bring it like that. That's not perfect, but it's going to do. So that's like that, and that's all my drawing that I'm doing. I take it back. Above this side over here, there's a distinct light reddish colored V there, which I like. So I want to make sure I put that in. Then this side comes up in this vicinity somehow and goes back, and then we got these diagonals start going up from there. So what I'm trying to capture is the diagonals. I like them. So got that like that, and this, we got a little dark V right there happening, and then there's some nice diagonal there. So I want to do something like that. And what the heck, I've got something in front of my screen, so hold on a sec, gotta fix that there. Hopefully you were just seeing what I was showing you, because I looked up and my screen was blocked. And how about that? That does not help. Oh, that makes more glare than helping. Yeah, I don't like that. So I'm gonna leave it like that. Hope my daylight will kick in and be good enough there for you to see. All right, so I'm gonna turn this upside down, because again, I want to try to keep this white right in here. And so I'm going to start playing. And I'm going to put water on here. So my paper's wet. Now, I guess I better get my paint wet too. I won't be able to scrape anything out with my little scraping tools. And I'm going to get that transparent red oxide wet, and I'm getting my burnt sienna wet, and my raw sienna, and I don't have any sepia. I guess I'll get the Payne's gray wet, because who knows, I might want to put that in. And I definitely need some yellows and all my blues, and I might possibly want to scrape some of that green off there, probably not, but on the off chance, let's get it wet. And I've got some Perylene Violet in there that I really like right now, so get the Perylene Violet good and wet. That's probably good enough. Now I'm going to start with this thing, I think. And what do I want to do? I'm going to get some, I've got darks all in here, and I want to keep this lighter. I think I'll try the lighter part first, because I'm going to add more water to it. So I want this color back in here to be mostly either this transparent red oxide, which didn't get a lot of water on it, did it? So try the burnt sienna. They're very similar in color. So I've got some burnt sienna on my little scraping tool, and let's try a little bit of this. This is transparent turquoise. No, this one's transparent turquoise. This one's phthalo turquoise, and this is Mayan blue. I like the Mayan blue too. Let me just see if I can get a little of that. All right, those two colors, and we'll put in on the edge a little of my raw sienna. I'm not getting a whole lot of this up here, so I'm gonna have to do this again in a minute. But let's see. I'm gonna just put this right down in here. And I want to keep more of the brown color right there, and it's not happening. And let's see that. I'm going to put some more purple colors into it in a bit, but for now, it's good like that. And I've got some weird sap green over here, so I'm going to just put some of that in, because I do want there to be some green color in here. And I'm going to put a little along that line, because I want to try and get these diagonals emphasized. Let's try some Quinacridone Gold. Oops, I shifted that around. Didn't want to get that out of the camera. I hope you're liking my new palette cam. I've got that so you can really see my colors better. See if I can get some more of this wet so I can pull that back up easier without shifting the palette around. Okay, so see, that's a darker color. This is going to be lighter in here with some brown in it, so just scrape some of that in, some of my burnt sienna, and I'm going to put burnt sienna up along that edge, and definitely I want a lot of burnt sienna there. And I've got this Potter's Pink. It's an interesting color. I'm going to just stick a little of that in there, and then because I want something darker, I'm going to put some of the Perylene Violet right there, and I'm going to put some right there, and put some more of that all in there. And let's see, this is a really dark thing over here, so Perylene Violet on that. And that's pretty good. Scrape some of that onto there and run some up here. Just clean off that little card there like that. And then see if I can get some more. I don't have enough green happening, but I think if I will add some blue in, I mean not blue, holy cow, add some yellow in here. I think the yellow will mix with what I've got going on and put some interesting greens in here. Let's see, put a little bit of that right there. And we need some more green over here. So I'm going to put green right along there and along there. Okay, let me see if I've done anything interesting now with this. I do think though that I should have, I don't have enough blue, so I've got some indigo going right up here and down in the bottom there, indigo. Let's put a bit of it over here too, just because. Okay, let me hit this with some water and see what starts to happen. But I'm going to try, well no, I'm just going to have to mop it out of that area that I don't want it going in. And this is messy, in case I didn't already warn you. Okay, I just got water all over everything to activate all that paint. And I'm going to tilt it around and see what starts happening. It is messy. Alright, that needs to run more over that way. Now, I don't like all that purpley color there. And I do want that to spread up that way more, and this needs to go that way more. Alright, obviously I can see I'm going to need to help this along if I want it to all go in the direction that I want instead of what it wants. So there's my diagonals happening. Now keep this over there. Keep my brush rinsed clean so I don't get what I don't want where I don't want it. Spread that out. Maybe put a little bit more green right in there. And I need some more green going over that way. Let's have a little green happening here. And I think I'm going to mix some burnt sienna with some ultramarine over here. Get a darker brown happening and put some of it in a couple of places. Could use some here. None of that color really spread like it should have. And I need a bit across there. And I'll put some more in there. And a whole lot more over here. Then I'm going to put some green in there. This is super, super messy. And I don't like, oops, I've got big clumps of yellow right there. I don't like that color going straight up. I want that to go over there. And I'm going to take a minute here, wipe all this mess off the table. Dry down that edge and down that edge. Just cleaning the table just a bit there. Okay, now I want to get some of this to go more that way. I keep getting a big clump of something in there. I guess my yellow, I really scraped hard on that yellow and pulled it right out of the palette. Here's a bit more here. But that's doing something interesting. It's not exactly what I had in mind yet, but it is pretty. So let me do some manipulating this color around and making sure that I've got my clean area here for the water. And let's see, let's put a little bit more transparent red oxide right in here. Put a little bit more right here. And some more of this green here and here and here and right up here. Grab a little, my ultramarine is pretty yucky right now because it's got, I went in right into it with my brush full of burnt sienna, so it's the wrong color right at the moment, but that's not bad. Put another streak of blue right down here. Get the blue out of my brush and see if I can loosen up some of that burnt sienna there so that that'll run more up in there. Put a little bit more there because I want that more, I want to enhance that reddish triangle. going up the middle there. Okay, this is really kind of interesting. I do notice in my picture I have a super dark area right right in here. Right back in there is a dark area. So I still want to have that come in right there. So that's pretty. I'm still holding this up on an angle because it's really still running a lot. So I can dab off that edge again. And now let's see if I lay it down flat. I don't really like what that's doing to that dark just yet. So let me just direct some of that where I want it to go. So I do want to really try and emphasize these diagonal lines. I think that's probably good. I think I can fix whatever of the rest of it didn't go where I wanted it to go. I think I can move that around once it's dried. I should put a little bit more water on this so that kind of melts out there and mixes with everything else. This one too, probably. Oops, too much blue on my brush, darn. Didn't want to do that. It had some of that really pretty perylene on it. I messed it up. Let's see if I can fix it. Put that on there and put a little bit of burnt sienna in there as well. Channel that up the hill. That looks good. Clean off my table again. Now, if I need to leave it laying flat, I could, but let me just try this for a minute. That helped it a bit. By blowing on it like that, you don't have so much control over where it's going, but you get some really nice organic lines. In other words, it just kind of goes off crazy direction, and I think it looks really pretty. So that is interesting. Now I got to hold on to it like this for just a minute while it dries, because if I let it flat right now, it isn't gonna be quite what I want it. And I'm gonna have to work on this side too, but right now if I hold it up here and put a lot right in here, it's gonna run over in where the water goes. So I'm gonna wait until that's dry, then I'll re-wet this and tilt it the other direction so that it can run more that way, like I want it to do. So this is, again, just an experiment, so I hope you're enjoying it. I am really got a mess going on here on my table, but I think it's pretty on the paper, and that's what counts. So let's just see how this turns out. I'll probably end up speeding this part of the video up, so you don't have to stay wherever you are, sit there, stand there, whatever, and watch this boring part where the paint's drying. But I am going to put a little bit more green right there because I think that needs more green. We got a bit of a green going on the top of that, so I'll put that right up in there. Want that to have more green on it. A little green there. Doing quite what I want it to do, but at this moment it's indicating to me that it is the boss, not me, so I'm going to let it do whatever it does. And now I think maybe I can lay it flat and we'll just see what happens as it dries. So I guess I'll let the video camera roll because I can always edit this boring part out or speed it up, like I said. I don't use blow dryers. I don't like to do that because I feel like, well, as you saw me blowing on it right there, when you put forced air on there, it does move the pigments around. And blow drying this would push pigments, you know, depending what way I channeled the air. If I directed the air that way, it would push the pigment that way. But at this point, I would rather let it lay flat here and just dry, and let's see what I get. So I think actually I will turn the video off and I'll go away for about an hour or so and let this dry, and then I'll come back and see what I've got. So see you in a minute. Okay, I'm back. Actually, it's the next day. I let that painting dry for a good little while, and then I wasn't just standing around letting it dry. I got into some other stuff, and so I never made it back yesterday evening until it got a little too dark in here in my studio, and I just decided rather than turn all the lights on and try to paint this with lights on, I was going to wait till today when the lighting will be more similar to when I first started working on it yesterday. So that's what I did, and I'm back here in the studio now, and let me just switch my camera there so now you can see. Here's what I have. It has dried, looking pretty cool. I got this area in here. I really like how it looks. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit and show you this. Yeah, there we go. So I love how this looks, how the colors blended, and I've got my diagonals going along here, and that looks good. And this, I've got my orangey colored triangle back there for that part of the wall going up. Got a little bit of things that I need to touch up and clean up, and of course I need to work on this whole area in this corner here. So I'm going to just go ahead and start working on that. I've got the reference picture up that is the original, and let me switch that back to my enhanced picture because that gives me a better idea of where I'm going, or where I'd like to go with this with putting color in, and you know, it helps it. I think you could see it better in this reference. That's the main reason I did that. So oops, I forgot to change my water from yesterday, so let me pause the recording and come right back into it in just a second with clean water. Okay, back with clean water. So picking up from where we left off, let's see what I might want to start in on first. And getting started at first is always, for me, the roughest part. Those first few strokes of paint on the clean page or something like that, getting that first starting point figured out can be a little daunting. So I've learned to just pick something and jump right in. Look for that kind of obvious thing and jump into it. And so what I'm doing right here is I'm cleaning a little paint out of the area where I wanted to keep it white or light, so I can put water in here. It's not going to hurt for there to be a little bit of this tinge of the colors in the surrounding mountains, because that might be something you would see out there in the real world anyway. You would see in nature, you would see these reflections and things. This was choppy water, so there's not going to be an obvious reflection like there would on still water, but there still might be a bit of reflection of the color of the surrounding area, especially in an area like this where you're in this gorge and you're down deep behind all these steep walls of grasses and shrubs and rocks and whatnot. So a little bit of that color in there isn't going to hurt, and I think I may leave this bit in over on this side for that very reason. I think I want to clean this up just a bit because that's a little darker than what I would like there to be right there. I do want to have that water kind of look like it's flowing out of whatever this dark area is, but I'm going to work on that on purpose and do that like more intentional rather than the loose flinging paint and water all around the place and having it run everywhere on its own. I think I'm going to be much more intentional about this little section right here. So there's that. Now, looking at my painting, I see that I've got this, at my reference photo, I've got this little bit of a wall that comes around here, and it looks kind of like maybe the water goes back that way, and then we've got a darker wall here, so I'm going to need to darken that up a good bit. And then we've got this little dark area here. This wall kind of seems to disappear off into, I don't know if that's a cave or a tunnel, or I don't know what it is. So I'm going to just make it look, I'm going to kind of approximate what I do see in my reference photo. I'll tell you, when we were actually here, standing here looking, I didn't especially notice that dark area. So that is something that I picked up in the photograph once I got home and started looking at my photos that I took. So it was far enough away. I don't know what it is, whether it was actually a tunnel or a dark spot on the canyon walls. But I will tell you, as dark as it is, and for this to be a nice flat, there's a big flat stone right above there. It has the appearance of being a tunnel or cave or something. So I'm going to kind of go with that and make it look like that. But that being the case, I need to do a little bit of changing up what I've got going right here. So I'm going to move some of this paint around. And in fact, let me pull my reference photo over here for myself, because I can see it on the screen there, right over there. That I can see that. But I'm going to go ahead and look at my printed out version that I've got here too, because looking back and forth between the two, that helps me get what I want on the page. So enhancing what I've got going on here, I want to put, there's a little stone ledge kind of going right across here like this. So just lifting bits of paint off there to reveal a little bit of a shadow and a highlight and create this stone ledge. Then above that, I'm going to alter the paint color a bit. So let me go ahead and lift most of that dark out of there. And then what I'll do is I'll let that dry, and I'll go back in after it's dry and put the color that I do want right there. But it is kind of important to let it dry. When you're doing layering like this, if you don't learn how to let things dry and then go in and lift, and then let it dry, and then go put your next paint color back over it, you end up with a lot of mud and a lot of damage to your paper. So just remember, let things dry in between steps. So that's kind of good, I think, and I'm going to slide that down a little and emphasize a bit of that vertical, because there's a lot of really neat rock formations going on in those canyon walls, or rocks exposed, you know, and you can see a lot of this. I liked this part right here in the reference. I don't know if you can see it there, but I'll call your attention to it right here. All of these vertical looking things. It's the way the rock has been cut into over time, I guess, by the water or whatever, but or maybe this was blasted out or something, but there you got these neat vertical things happening here. There's some over on this side as well. So I'm going to put a lot of that in if I can, or I'm going to, you know, emphasize it as much as possible, because it's all these lines going on in here that really caught my attention, with the verticals in the rocks and the diagonal way the wall just kind of went up with, I don't know whether it's like undulating or as it gets away, or just it looked really cool. So enough of that. All right, that area I'm going to let dry, and then I'm going to glaze in some more of the burnt sienna type of color in over there. Let's see here. I want to put a little bit more. I think I'll use transparent red oxide. I find that they're so similar that I use that and burnt sienna interchangeably. But I think the burnt sienna might granulate a little bit more or something. Let's see. Kind of spread that over there. Work that out. Don't need to change that much, but I do want to kind of cover over where there's too much of a distinct line right there from my brush stroke, getting where I didn't want it. There, I think that's pretty good. I think I like that, how that looks. Let's see here now. And this part of this may be kind of boring. I'm probably going to just stop talking and just paint, and then as when I edit this, I'll probably speed this part up, unless I say something I think you really need to hear, if I think of something as I'm painting. But mainly it's just going to be from this point on. Yesterday was the experiment with the water. Oh, I do have to do that a little bit over on this side too, but yesterday was the big experiment with all the putting the paint on with the credit card and then putting the water on it and getting my good base layer going. And now I'm going to just get kind of fiddly and nitpicky with parts and tweak it. And I do love details, so I'm going to go in here and look and see what I need to enhance, what part to pull forward, what part to push back, what part to glaze something else over it to give it a different appearance. And then, like I said, here's straightening and lifting. And I will record it, and I'll leave that in the video. And I hopefully won't speed it up too fast. You can't see what's going on, but there's no point in me boring you to tears while I just ramble on and on saying unimportant stuff. So I'll do a narration voiceover or something to go with it. And so for now, just watch me paint. I like this part really well. I think that's a successful experiment because I've got my real diagonal stuff happening like I wanted. I think I'm not really satisfied with this part. Right now, I don't have a really clear vision for what I want to put there. So it's hard to paint something when you don't have the vision. You don't see what it is you want to paint. It's like impossible to paint it because I don't know what I want on there. So at least for me anyway. I mean, and this was a experiment in something much more abstract, but even with that, I did know that I wanted a lot of verticals right here, and I wanted these diagonals here, and I knew I wanted this color here and the greens, and I had a good idea for what I wanted. And I don't have that for this side right here, because like in my reference photo, right on the, well, I can't point because oh, this is weird. That right there, that tram track thing right there, I don't want that in my painting. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly would be behind there and what do I really want to go there. There's actually train tracks over on that side of the gorge. And I looked in my reference photos and I don't have another photo that clearly shows what is there from this perspective. So I'm trying to make up what I want to go there, and so far I don't have it figured out. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to go ahead and work on the water here and then probably call this one done, because it is really, to me, it's a successful experiment because this part came out really well. I like it. I'm going to do this a bunch more times, and I will also confess I didn't think this was going to come out good, so I use not my best paper. And so I'm thinking if I do this on a larger sheet of paper and use my better Arches paper or one of my better papers, and like even possibly use a 300 pound instead of 140 pound, I still will go with cold press. And this is cold press because I do like the texture on that. I don't almost never use hot press. I only use hot press when there was nothing else at the store that I could buy, and I was stuck buying hot press. Like if I want a watercolor block and they don't have a good block in anything except hot press. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and put the water in here and the little people on the inner tubes floating down the water, down the river, and then that will give this a finished look. I'm going to call this one done. I'm going to call it a success, even though I don't have this figured out yet. But I also paint everything that I paint multiple times over and over again, because each time I'm working things out and I'm finding what worked, what didn't work, what I want to try different, and and I just get new ideas every time I paint it. So so I'm sure I will be painting this one again. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh, how did my light get turned off? There, my terrific new palette cam. I'm liking that thing. I think I need, though, for this water, I need to clear out a spot so I can get some good blue mixed up here. Oh, that was doing some really cool something right there on my paint palette. Had a neat granulation thing going, and I just erased it. That's one reason I never clean my palette too, because cool stuff happens on the palette, and it's almost like another experimental paint pad there when my colors run together and stuff. So this water needs to be a kind of a light greenish blue, I think, to look right, to look like it fits in this picture. And I want to keep it really, really pale. I've got something going here that is so pale you can't even see it in the camera. There, that's a little bit more color into it so you can see it. Anyway, I want to gray it down just a little bit with some of this Verditer blue. This right here was cobalt turquoise, and this is something like Verditer. I forget the name of it. I was at the store the other day and couldn't think of the name of it, so I couldn't buy another tube because I'm running out. Alright, that's maybe it needs a little bit more of the greenish in there. I don't want to get it too strong, though. I'm going to keep it really watered down and faint. That looks good. Okay, now I've watered my paper inconsistently here. I don't want solid lines of color on here, because this is a really fast moving water with a lot of like white caps, and I think I told you I was going to leave that in there and just see how that reflection looks. So that's probably good, because I want it, you have to do your back and forth horizontal strokes so your water looks like it's laying flat, but I want some stops and starts in there because of the rocks that it's going to be hitting up against. And there's some really cool granulation something happening there, so I'm going to put that there. And put a little bit more right here. And I've got it good coming out of there. A little bit darker right here would be nice, I think. Better not forget that I need to leave spots to put those tubing people in. But that looks pretty good. The way that'll dry, this is going to hopefully look like fast moving water coming up against some rocks and boulders under the surface throughout the little journey down the river. This is turning out to be too much of that color, and I want to pull it more out into the water like that. Put some of it down right there, so that gets a cool look going on. And this side I'm going to leave alone, I think. Pull that over there like that. Maybe that helps give that right appearance that this is water flowing through here. Okay, now I think I'm going to let that dry, because if I went to paint the tubers on right now, the inner tubing people, those colors would get on this wet area and they would diffuse too much, and I'd just have a big dark blob. It wouldn't really show what it's meant to be. So now I got to stand here for a minute and look. Oh, I didn't do something right above there. It's actually not looking too bad on the camera, but I think it needs, let's see, what's above there is not green. It's kind of darker. So let me pick up, I should have done that before I cleaned all that other stuff out of my palette, but this probably will do. And I'll just put something right above here to create that little bit of a shelf, and then just mash my paintbrush down on. And that looks pretty good, but it goes over too far, so I'm going to have to do a little something to make an interruption in there at some point. But for the moment, let's see. Let's get a little bit more of that dark brown, get dark colors. And I'm going to put something that just goes right along there, like that, I think. That looks pretty good. Then maybe I'll water that down a bit. That's just too dark. Get rid of that and pick up some of this miscellaneous whatnot right here and bring, let's see, where does that need to come down? It needs to come down right about in there, right over into there. Keep my verticals happening. And then I need, on that little shelf right there, I'm going to fill that with green on that part there. And I think that will have exactly what I need going on. There, yeah, I like that better. That was an improvement. So that's another tip. Take time frequently to just stop and look at what you've got going on with as much of a fresh perspective as you can. Look at the whole thing from, you know, sometimes you have to step back and look at it. Sometimes I take and prop my piece up, like against the water bottle or something, and then really step back all the way over to the door and just look at it and close my eyes, count to 10, and open my eyes and look at it. And then little things pop out at me that I was just, when I'm working on it, I'm too close and I'm too sucked into the different, you know, specific little parts of it, and it's, you lose your kind of your overall perspective or objectivity. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's good to stop and step back and take a look sometimes, and you'll see stuff that you can tweak or fix or make better. You see little parts. So that's well, we're not done. We didn't. Yeah, that's mostly dry. Okay, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. If I can figure out where I put it. I think I was painting out, so it's over here in my folder here. Come out. Oh, that one might work for something too, and maybe that one. So let's see. I want to put some dark blue, so I'm going to use this cobalt blue, and I'll just get a nice little dark puddle of it going here. That'll be perfect to put in. Let's see, I've got one back there in the background. That's the wettest area, but I think it's still fine. So I'm going to put one way back here, and I just need a little line across there. Yeah, that's still really wet back there. And we've got one right here, and it's just kind of a, you see the bottom part, the dark blue part of these inner tubes. And I've got one here. And hopefully that won't bleed around too much. Then we've got one right in this area. And I'll put one more. Actually, let's see, let's put one right here. It's a lot drier down in here, so that this paint's going to stay where I put it, which is good because, you know, those are farther away, so they can be a little blurry in the distance back there. I think we actually have two of them here. So got that there. Now what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to soften that color. I'm going to take a little bit of this cobalt turquoise, really light, and put something above it that's actually too dark. I may not need to do that. I may just have to just use water and spread that paint over and just kind of indicate the top of this inner tube here. The same for over here. I'll clean out a little bit of that right there and create a rounded sort of a shape. It's just a little bit lighter in color on the top here. Kind of lifting and laying down paint both at the same time. So I might need to just really suck up some of that moisture that's still on the paper back there. Alright, that'll do it. Actually, no, I don't like it. Put a little bit stronger bit of paint there that hopefully will hold its shape better now that it's a bit drier. Oh yeah, that helped. Putting some of that cobalt turquoise on there, that's letting me describe that line, that shape of that inner tube a lot better. I like that better. So I'll just continue that on down into this. Okay, now we need just a little bit of pink. Doesn't need to be a lot, and I don't need a bunch of wetness in the brush because it'll make too large of a blob come off there. So I've got color in here, and I'm just going to start with this one. Just make just a little, maybe I do need more color than that on there. Make that little guy there. Another guy here. We just got people sitting in this boat, and there's a whole bunch of them, and you don't really know exactly. Yeah, I can't see them exactly, so I don't need to see them exactly, and I don't need to have really a lot of detail. Just some indication of some people sitting here wearing their life jacket, life vest kind of things. Get a little bit more different color variation in it. And let's see, we've got a guy right kind of in the middle. I'm going to come back and put heads on these blobs in a minute. Right now I'm just getting the general gist of the shape going on, because I got to put a lot of people in this boat, so seeing where I can fit the little blobs in, and that will help me know where to put the heads when I get to that point. There's not really a whole lot of detail to this at all. And in fact, I could could zoom it in even more so you can really see what I'm doing there. Just plopping some little people down into these boats. And these, especially these that are farther away, we really don't want much detail back there because they're too much farther away. And that one could have more people in it, but I think I'm going to call it good enough. I'm changing the color up a bit. I think I might have mentioned that just to give it a little bit of more definition, that you can get the idea. Okay, there's more than one person there. Okay, now I'm just gonna put little tiny bits of light color on there for heads, just the indication of some heads. So there's a little head and a head and a head. Get a head there, head there. And like I said, we don't need any detail. They're too far away for us to really be able to see. You know, are they wearing a hat? Or are they wearing sunglasses? Who knows? They're too far away. We can't even really tell what color their hair is or anything. Can't tell what direction they're facing. We don't need to know all that. We just need to know there's a person there. And again, it sort of helps to vary up the color a bit. And the size. Too much. I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup, but getting there. Now they have some little paddles, so I'm going to just put some little yellow spots to indicate those paddles they're holding. Again, don't need a lot of detail. I'm plopping in the color so that you see it, it's here. I may put a little bit of an indication of the rest of the orb. It's not wholly necessary. Let's get just a little bit of a light line. We'll connect that one. Might need a little bit more yellow back behind there. And I'm going to use this flat brush and do a little tiny bit of cleanup because I kind of lost my tops of these inner tubes here. Really lost that one. There. There. Now, I think I'm going to put a bit of darker water just underneath the bottom of each of these tubes. Just to help delineate exactly what we got going on there. Kind of feather that out a bit. Might be too much there. Okay, that's not too shabby. For an experiment, I think I like it. At least for right now, I'm going to call it done. As I said, I'll prop it up against my wall right here or something and look at it, and I'm sure I'll paint it again a few more times. I will probably wait till I get an idea of exactly what I want to have right over here, because I've got the general idea. There's a riser wall. I don't know what you would call this, but this part is a ledge that's a little bit higher. You don't have this on this side over here, but this was here because there was, I guess the way it was cut into there, probably this would be a man-made part, because there's actually a little train that ran along at the bottom of the gorge probably 100 years ago. I don't remember what it said it was for. The trip was too long ago, but there's a rail type of a fence, and it's kind of falling down. Let me enlarge that reference so you can see what I'm talking about. There. You can see both pictures at the same time, but see right along along the edge, you can just barely see there's a bit of a railroad track running through there, and a little rail fencing that's there, remnants of whatever train company ran supplies or whatever through there. And I guess I should put the actual reference photo up there so you can see that instead of the one that I enhanced. But there you go, you see what's there. So I have to just think about that and figure out exactly what it is that I do want to have in my painting on this side, since I don't want that bit of the tram track that we, when you go there as a tourist now, you hop on this tram, sort of a, there's a different word for it, I'm not thinking of the right word, but anyway, you get on it and you ride slowly, kind of down, almost straight down a hill, and you're just sitting in all these little chairs horizontally like this, and you're kind of stair-stepping your way down on this weird track thing there. But what am I looking for here? That's not doing, oh, maybe it was doing something and I didn't see it there. Okay, so now you can see the painting again, and I am finished up for the day. Look at my palette cam is not covering up my palette now. Anyway, you see what you need to see. You see my painting. Here we go. That's my mostly finished, probably finished, but definitely not the only one of this that I'll paint. And I hope you enjoyed that. It was, I think, a fun experiment. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed that little excursion into semi abstract, I guess. But that was fun, and I'm going to do that again. And so here's this video. Enjoy it, paint along with it, experiment on your own, try different reference photos that you may have at home, that you can make an abstracted landscape with this technique. So happy painting, and I'll see you next time.